Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and welcome to another episode of Virus Investigations. Now this week we have an interesting look at a Counter-Strike virus, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this is a virus that's frankly outdated and you probably won't end up getting it today, but frankly, oldies but goldies is my opinion, and I like the viruses that I've actually been infected with in the past. Today's virus, or, well, today's strain of viruses, because I can't exactly identify which one I got infected with, was one that affected me personally as a younger person. Now, for those of you who don't know, Muta loves Rainbow Six Siege, but there was a time before Rainbow Six Siege was ever released, and frankly a long time before, where kind of the only multiplayer game that I ever touched was Counter-Strike. And it was simple, it's kind of all I had at the time. I was not available for the PS2 Xbox era of online gaming, I just did not have the infrastructure for it. I played Xbox 360, PlayStation 3 online, but frankly, me and my friends only ever played on the PC when it came to Counter-Strike. It was a game that we could easily run, Counter-Strike 1.6, not Source at the time, because we didn't have no graphic cards or anything, but it was a game that we could easily run, easily play. And as a younger child, I'm not ashamed to admit that I had a pirated copy of Counter-Strike. It's just the matter of fact. Now, for those of you who have ever had a pirated copy of Counter-Strike 1.6, you all know that the only servers you were ever playing on was Asia, Russia, or maybe South America. But moving on forward, the element of today all comes down to how open a certain platform is and why that can almost be a problem. See, openness in a computer environment can be a double-edged sword. I like Android. I'm using an Android right now, but I gotta understand at the same time, being such an open platform, you also open yourself up to more and more attacks. Being the more popular platform, being the more open platform, you understand that's where you're going to get attacked. And unfortunately, video games aren't too different either. Now, when it comes to online multiplayer gaming, there was one point in time where matchmaking wasn't even a thing. You know matchmaking now, right? You go onto the multiplayer menu, hit X or A or play game or something, and it basically finds you the players for you. It's a great system, and frankly, Halo 2, I think that was the first game that really had an online matchmaking system, as far as I recall, was a great system. You just hit A, go and grab a beer, do something, take a shit, I don't know what you gotta do, the game will find people for you, you'll get right into a game. And that's what made online gaming truly amazing for me. It like revolutionized it for me too, right? No longer was I having to find servers of default game modes to find or anything. Nowadays, some games will have a server browser, some games will also have a matchmaker. And nowadays things are a little bit different. But back in the CS 1.6 days, we didn't have no matchmaking, and I still don't think we do. Basically, what it came down to was opening the server browser, finding a server of choice, whatever map it was running, all of that, and just clicking on it, loading up the required files, and getting right into your game. And for the most part, it worked just fine. But there were issues if you were playing on the pirated side like I was. See, while there is no region that could stop you, playing on official Valve servers, you were pretty safe for the most part. If you were paying for a legitimate copy, that is. But if you were also paying for a legitimate copy or pirating and you just wanted to play on the Russian servers or the Asian servers, Asia was where I was playing primarily. A lot of servers came with their own files, and most CS 1.6 servers did. See, there was a point in multiplayer games where modifying these things were huge. There was no ranking system to worry about, there was no in-game experience point system, nothing like that. So you could really go into a game and modify it to your heart's content. Now this leads to amazing gameplay elements. You could have zombie mods, you could have infected mods, you could have gun game. That thing in Call of Duty people said revolutionized it, wasn't Counter-Strike to begin with. Basically, servers could be modified and you could have your own game types, maps, all that stuff. However, this came with an issue. See, the server that I in fact played on, or whatever batch of servers there were, was downloading files to my computer. And in this case, the files that it downloaded, some of them came with executable files.
In fact, for closer analysis, one of the many fan communities of Counter-Strike 1.6 actually has their own client that you can download for whatever reason if you don't want to use the Steam version. Some older clients are better compatible with older modifications. Now this was from rampage.us.lt, and this is the Warzone Client, one that I haven't ever touched and one I don't really recommend yet. If you go to the website, it has a certain level of interesting English. This is the full Counter-Strike 1.6 client. The CS 1.6 game client doesn't have any you get the point, okay? I'm not going to push it out that much, come on. But what's interesting to know about this is they actually mentioned the Counter-Strike 1.6 client is protected from modification of the game files, which includes slow hack, one of the many alterations and one of the many, I guess, umbrella terms we're going to use for this situation. Now, if we go down a little further, let's go to the more interesting sides of it. This is the Warzone Client. It's a modified game version. Now, if you go all the way down, they have some history over here. They actually mention slow hack in detail, and I'll cover all of it just quickly in this paragraph. It's CS 1.6 player settings, configuration, or files change, modification without prompt. When you playing in any CS 1.6 game server, you can have problems like key bindings with connect commands to another server. For example, you just click the button Z for radio commands, but you will connect to server and you will not see radio command menu or autoexec.cfg, userconfig.cfg, or any other CFG file content change to connect commands. Example, you just start CS 1.6 by clicking on shortcut Counter-Strike 1.6, which is on your desktop, and after this, you just connecting to CS 1.6 server automatically? So basically, they're over here trying to prevent this kind of stuff from happening. They actually fix many of these problems as they list, which includes game menu change, CFG files, content rewrite, key bindings, DLL, or EXE file sending for player, and it has affected the growth of the CS 1.6 game popularity too. Pat yourselves on the back, ladies and gentlemen, these lads have done God's work.
So essentially, I downloaded a Trojan into my system. I hit yes, yes, yes a bunch of times. I thought that was the flow of the game. So you can get how this would affect somebody who didn't know much about computers to begin with, or frankly didn't know much about the game to begin with. If I see yes while I'm trying to get into a game as an impatient young lad, you bet your ass I'm going to click yes. As an adult, maybe I'll think twice. You know, if it says changing my firewall settings, yeah, I'll probably say no to that, but you get what I'm trying to say. As somebody who gets into the game really quickly, you're going to say yes, yes to everything. This can make you launch a program that could cause a lot of detriment to your computer. And in this case, a lot of these were financially dominated. See, to get a virus, you could get any specific type of virus, but the viruses that we were getting was a DDoS virus, and frankly, we only knew about this when our internet service provider actually told us that we were DDoSing somebody and we should actually get rid of those viruses, which we did afterwards. So a DDoS virus was used to basically shut down Valve servers or competitor servers, and essentially that would funnel traffic, or hopefully funnel traffic, to these guys' servers, and they could make money off of advertising over their message of the day display, the MOTD, the first page you see when you sign into a Counter-Strike 1.6 server. See, a lot of viruses are monetarily dominated. They're essentially ways to make money, giant money-making schemes, and money can be made in many ways, whether it be advertising on some sketchy Russian server of Counter-Strike 1.6 catering to the pirated crowd. You never know where your target audience is. Anything can happen. So, moral of the story is, sign on to servers with care. Now, unfortunately, or fortunately, the modifying of online video games had halted severely. You know, the last online games I remember being super moddable was like Halo Custom Edition. And before that, Unreal, Quake, Counter-Strike. And ever since then, video games have almost diminished their capabilities of modding online. They come with DLC packs, experience point systems, and in some extent, I do like the modern designs of today. They're more cohesive online experiences, but yeah, you can miss the old. Now, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which is the most recent Counter-Strike edition to be on the market, does have a community servers guideline, but this is fairly policed in my opinion. I don't really see a lot of viruses spreading out this way. Most online video games today, and if the question you're asking is, could I get something like this today? Maybe, you could, you never know, but it's very, very unlikely. See, most online games today have a matchmaking feature. Like I was saying, CSGO, it comes with community servers, but most players in the game actually use the inbuilt server matching system. So you go to competitive play or casual, you find something, select your filters, hit go, it finds your players, you hit go or the green button that nobody seems to do, the last person especially, and you get right into your game. Something like Rainbow Six Siege, which allows you to which only gives you the ability to matchmake. There is no server browser mechanic. You have to go to play game, find casual or ranked, and you'll get into a game fairly quickly. GTA 5, a very popular multiplayer game. You just connect up into the clouds and pray to God that you land down in Los Santos connected to one of Rockstar's servers. Modded versions of it don't count. There are modded online experiences for GTA. I'm just talking about baseline. Something like Battlefield, which actually has a server browser, will not get you infected. And that's just simply due to the fact that that server browser literally only displays servers that are run by Electronic Arts, policed by DICE. So you're only leasing server space from them. They control everything that happens over there. That's why you're not able to get custom maps or mods on a Battlefield game. You're just able to tweak a couple settings here and there and put a nice little message for people to see. So most of the games you're playing nowadays, you'll be relatively safe in. However, that does not make everything else just unavoidable. There are games still to this day where I can classify the whole thing as being a virus. I mean, if you loaded up CS 1.6 today, there are still going to be a plethora of servers where you may get a virus from. I mean, assume the fact you're playing CS 1.6, you're still on Windows XP, or Vista for that matter, and you connect to a server to this day and age running these scripts, running these viruses, you're still going to get infected. Now, of course, that's a pretty minute case scenario, but there are plenty of online games out there on the marketplace that are released for free, and frankly, when something is released for free, it has some caveats to it. You know, there are some sketchy Korean MMO games, there are some sketchy games all over out on the market, sketchy shooter games that are frankly released for free. And I know I'm saying frankly a lot, God please help me. But in this situation, when you download any of these games, the entire client could come out infected, the entire client could have some issue with it, the entire game itself could just be a scheme to be sitting on your computer and doing absolutely nothing but wasting your precious resources. See, the biggest type of virus that is released nowadays that's packaged in with a game is something we'll be taking a look at a little bit later, and I want to call this the Bitcoin or mining viruses. You'll see a lot of these on your cell phone, whether it be iOS or Android, because these are kinds of viruses that are policed in such a weird fashion. Basically what will happen is you'll download a sketchy game or piece of software and you'll notice that your phone was starting to get really hot or your PC is starting to pull a lot of CPU cycles. And while inherently that might not look like a virus, basically what's going on is your computer is mining for resources, mining cryptocurrencies, and is therefore running in a giant botnet, so to speak, for one specific person in the end, or groups of people. And you're basically turning your system into a mining system for everyone else. I touched upon it in a video a while back where there were some websites out there that came with weird sketchy miners built right in, and it's where you needed plugins on your web browsers to prevent this from happening anyways. Because these kinds of viruses, I would say, are a little worse than just straight DDoSs. These are actually using your system resources up into the point that they are harming your computers if prolonged. And if anybody's going to be harming your computer parts, it's going to be you. So be mindful of that. However, these don't exist so much in most AAA games. It's really only the sketchy games that I'm talking about. Those weird single-player Momo games that I was playing on Android or iOS. There's a reason those games make your phone really hot. It's just because they have cryptocurrency viruses in them. But I'm going to leave this topic where it's at. We're actually going to be looking at some of those later in the series. But for now, there are viruses that frankly did spread through Counter-Strike 1.6 and probably many other multiplayer games out there. So let me know if you've ever been infected by one of these. I think there are... Please do not let me be the only person that has ever been infected by a Counter-Strike virus. I'm sure there's got to be another one watching this video. But if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Just like if you dislike it, I am out.